This is Purpose of Life. Welcome to this program, Purpose of Life. Purpose and life, two very powerful words. In today's program, we're going to talk about a combination of all this. A culmination of these two words comes in the word called leadership. In Bible, there are several characters who talk about this leadership, but one character, we can even use it in today's 21st century, in today's digital technology, in today's era where everything is online. The character I'm talking about is Joseph. Now you must be wondering, why would Joseph be relevant today? I'm talking about Joseph, who's fully relevant in today's digital era. And to talk with me is from a person who's from the corporate background, from the digital era, is JKJ. John, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to be here, Ashwin.
It's always interesting when you come, John, because you come from the commerce world in Mumbai, and Mumbai, time is money.
That's right.
And time is money, time is so precious. At the same
Absolutely.
time,
Yeah.
what's your take on, when I introduced this topic, I said Joseph is relevant in this digital era. Does it resonate to you, or how do you see that resonating?
Absolutely. No, I'm not surprised that we're talking about this today, because a couple of days earlier in Bombay, we're sitting and talking of the Dabbawalas.
Yeah.
And how the Dabbawalas, pick up their lunch packs.
Yes.
And they have a Six Sigma kind of a delivery mechanism that there's no error of anybody getting a wrong dabba at any point of time.
And
since
it's thousands of dabbas.
And thousands of dabbas.
Going
Right?
accurately.
Going accurately. And the man I was talking to made an interesting point. He said, it may work in Bombay, but it'll never work in Chennai or Bangalore because of the sheer, breadth and width of Bombay.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Very interesting subject that he actually brought. So I said, hey, that's pretty interesting stuff, because I've never heard anybody say that, right? Because we think it can be replicated anywhere.
Correct.
It might work well in Bombay, may not work well in Chennai or Bangalore.
So what's the essence behind that statement?
So the essence is the train line. It's the western eastern train lines that are such meticulous. It's on time, and you said time is money.
Yeah.
If the guy misses the train, he can miss it with just 1 minute. If he misses the train,
his lunch
his lunch is not going to go. Sure. So you should see how people in Bombay live. Bombay is a place where people step out, they go by the clock.
Sure.
I get out of my house at 5:47, 5:49 is my train, I walk out, I take an auto, and then my bus is at 6:15. If I miss this timing, I'm late at my work.
Everything
and
is
they
gone.
program their life day in and day out like this. Can you imagine working like that for, say, 40 years, 45 years, and they do this day in and day out?
Yeah.
Rain, sunshine, nothing really comes in between. They do it. So time is money. And it's fabulous to see how people in Bombay live.
Yeah, and in this era where time is money, John, how relevant do you see Joseph?
Well, he's one of my favorite characters. One of the things that I love about Joseph was the fact that God gave him something called a dream. And I wonder, I'm asking this myself, when was the last time I ever had a dream myself given by God? Right? Today we talk of dreams, and I haven't heard many young people say, God has given me a dream.
Correct.
Right? I love the beautiful statement our former president made. He said, dreams are not what you get when you sleep. Dreams are what gets you not to sleep. Right? What wakes you up in the night? What gets you up in the morning? And you say, I need to accomplish this because this is from God. I've not heard many people say that. Right? It's very sad to see people just run that way. But when you have a dream, when you have a goal, when you have something to run after, then there's purpose. Then there's meaning. Because otherwise, you're just running and you turn back at the end of 70, 80 years and you said, what did I run for? Right? And I keep quoting a lot of what Anand says, and I like some of his statements. He said men and women in today's world live for 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons. One spouse, 2 children, a 3-bedroom apartment, and a 4-wheeler.
That's it.
That's it. So 90% of the population are living for 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons. And if they get 1, 2, 3, 4, they're the most happiest. Then they're looking of 1, 2, 3, 4 for their children. They're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4 for their grandchildren. Can you imagine life like that? I just want to ask a question, Ashwin. If Mahatma Gandhi thought of 1, 2, 3, 4, can you imagine what's the state of India?
Sure.
Can you imagine if Nelson Mandela thought of 1, 2, 3, 4, what's the state of South Africa?
And can we even imagine Joseph thinking of 1, 2, 3, 4?
Absolutely.
The Bible would be different.
Absolutely. So Men and women are living lives without purpose. They're living life without a dream, without a goal. They're just running and running and running. At the end of it, they're dead, just plain running. But when you look at the life of Joseph, 17-year-old boy
Young
getting
boy.
2 dreams, and I'm just hoping and praying that much people, as they listen, young people will pray to God and say, God, I need a vision, I need a dream, like how Joseph got. I'm 17, I'm 16, I'm 15, I'm 14. I want a dream, God. I want a dream from you. I don't hear that, Ashwin, too much in today's churches, and that is what is painful. We don't get to hear so many things like that. We want young people to come up and say, I need a dream from God because I need purpose, I need vision. I want to know why I'm here on earth. And it's very important to have something like
that. John, we're going to take a short break, but my question is,
yes,
why is dreams so difficult? Getting dream is difficult if you got the dream, but working on it.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm going to ask, and we're going to reflect on Joseph's life.
Okay.
Friends, we're talking about Joseph. Is he relevant in this digital era? Don't miss this program. Welcome back to Purpose of Life, and the question which I asked before this break is Joseph, the character of the Bible, relevant in this digital era? Answering me and joining me today is John. John, is Joseph really relevant? And the character of Joseph, is he relevant in this digital era? What's your take on that?
I would think so, 100%, because Joseph may be a character in the Bible, but we shouldn't forget that he was a character in this world at some point of time.
Absolutely.
Sometimes when you read the Bible, you think it's kind of a fairy story, but it's not a story. It is a real person who lived a real life sometime in this world.
Yes.
And
so that's history, in a sense.
That's history, right? So what he's gone through is what millions are going through today, right? They are born into this world. They have no idea why they are born. And in Joseph's case, all of a sudden he gets 2 dreams from God and he doesn't understand those dreams, right? The first dream was where he saw sheaves bowing down to his sheaf.
Right.
And then the second dream is when he saw the sun, the moon and the stars also bowing down to him. And he didn't understand them, right? And
he's a young lad.
A young lad, 17-year-old kid, rugged kid. But he goes and shares this to a wider audience. And he goes and shares this to his brothers who already hated him because he was the loved son of his father. So they hated him even more, right? So Joseph is a character that can happen even for somebody even today, right? He was relevant then, he's relevant now, because you can have a dream even yourself today and you may go and share it with somebody. Now, I'm sure you have a question to ask me after this. Should somebody share a dream when you get a dream like that, right? I would think so, yes. I've heard preachers and people say that he made a mistake going and sharing this with people. But I just want to ask you a question, Ashwin. Can you imagine the story of Joseph if Joseph did not share his dream with his father, his mother, and his brothers? What would the story be like at the end of it?
Different story.
It's an absolutely different story if he hadn't shared it. Yes, he was cocky. Yes, he possibly was a little naive. Yes, he possibly made a mistake sharing that dream. But can you imagine the story if Joseph hadn't shared that dream with his brothers? Because nothing would have happened.
Correct.
Right? The way it sort of unfolded for Joseph. So Joseph is a real character. And today a lot of people are living in this world, and that's very unfortunate. Because you see, I do a lot of work in the company that I work with also with regards to purpose, with regards to finding out your talents and giftings and what did God give you something special that somebody else does not have, right? For example, Ashwin has something that only Ashwin has.
Right.
I may not have it.
Right.
But I have something
which
only I have and Ashwin doesn't have.
Correct.
But when the two of us come together, we can make a great combination, because what I don't have, you have.
Correct.
And what you don't have, I have. And we can be a great team. Now, this is what I do back in the office that I work in as well. For people to understand that God has wired us and made us very, very unique. Like Joseph was given the gift of having this dream.
I'm going back to the promise which God gave to Abraham. See, what's interesting is...
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. What's to me more interesting is the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob.
Yes.
But it's not saying Joseph. But God is a God who keeps his promise.
Absolutely.
So Joseph is part of that promise.
Absolutely.
And many things in the Old Testament would have changed if Joseph did not play that part.
Absolutely.
So my question is, understanding on the character and nature of Joseph, the timing of it,
Mm-hmm.
what do we learn from it from a fundamental aspect of Joseph, the dreamer, as a young lad? What do we learn? So let's compartmentalize it from Joseph, the beginning part of Joseph,
Yes.
the middle part,
Yep.
and the different. So
Right.
am I right? So I think there's a lot of takeaways in the first part of it.
Yes.
So what do you see as the major takeaway in the first part of the Joseph's, the dreamer part of it? What's the lessons we learn from him?
I think the first part, I want to sort of encourage all of us to be ready for God to intervene in your life.
So that's the first part.
That's the first part.
So we can't take it lightly.
You can't take it lightly. And sometimes God may work in your life very differently from where he worked in Joseph's life. You may not even have a dream.
Correct.
But God will speak to you in some form or fashion.
Yes.
It could be a verse. It could be a preacher speaking to you. It could be a program that you're watching on television. God just speaks to you. Wait for that nudge of God.
Correct.
Because God will speak. You know, I read a very interesting Facebook post yesterday. This person who posted it said, thank your grandmother for the prayer she prayed, because some of it is still working in your life. You know, we sometimes take that very lightly.
Yeah.
I am what I am not because of what John has done.
Correct.
My grandma, my granddad, my dad, my mom, my forefathers prayed possibly to the God Jehovah and said, please give us a grandson, a grandchild who will love you and worship you and do something. Maybe they did that prayer, and today I am the result of that. And when you said away Abraham, God is a covenant-keeping God, right? He kept that covenant with Abraham and said, your people will be in exile 400 years.
Very clear.
And Joseph is in that, he's going to be in that scheme of things, right? He told that to Abraham, and he fulfilled that in the time of Joseph and beyond. So he is a covenant-keeping God. So what God possibly told my granddad or great-granddad is unfolding in my time today. I think what we need to understand is a lot of parents would love our children to do excellently well in their studies. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But how many parents want our children to be the brightest to understanding the Word of God? You know, involved in church, doing things for God, you know, seeing them actually flourish in the gifts and talents that they have to the glory of God. We sometimes keep that to the side and say that is secondary. Primary is studying and doing well in
goes
school.
To that extent that even Sundays they avoid church.
That's right. In the pretext of preparing for an exam that happens on Monday, right? I see a lot of kids do that. They come only when there's nothing for them to do in school or college on Monday. If there's an exam, they're not in church. Now, that for me is worrying, because a character like Joseph would not have done that.
Absolutely.
Right? A character like Eric Little would never do that. Eric Little took a commitment as a young boy saying, I will never run a race on a Sunday.
Correct.
Even when it came to the Olympic race in 1924, he went to his manager and said, I won't run on a Sunday. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a young kid in Chennai or anywhere in India saying, I will not go because I need to go to church? How many kids do we hear who are saying, I will do that?
Correct.
I don't see too many.
I see.
But we need people like that. We need young people like Joseph who are committed to the cause of God, and they're sold out to God. And Joseph is a marvelous study. And I want to share that with you at some point of time in terms of how he actually changed the whole trajectory.
So the first part we are talking about is Joseph the dreamer.
Yes.
So the fact is that God speaks, number one.
Absolutely.
It may be different formats, different ways, even from reading the word.
Absolutely.
And faith comes by hearing.
Right?
So a lot of combinations there.
Absolutely.
So Joseph first, he saw his father, his grandfather. He heard, so he also heard.
That's right.
And now he's seeing.
Yes.
He's seeing the dream.
Correct.
Now that's the first part of it. So God speaks, number one.
Absolutely.
Number two, how did Joseph react to the situation? So the question I'm asking, John, is vision is fine, but why do we have to have the blocks?
Right.
Why is it so difficult to accomplish the vision? So that's the question. And what kind of learnings we can learn through the puzzle getting unsolved?
Sure.
Don't miss the second or the last part of this program, which is on the understanding on the character of Joseph in the digital era. Welcome back to Purpose of Life. We are talking about the character of Joseph. Is he relevant in the digital era? John, the question before the break is, yes, God speaks.
Yes.
Yes, he can give you a vision.
Right.
Yes, he can tell you to go. He told Abraham to go.
Yeah.
And he obeyed.
That's right.
Man of faith. But then, why problems? If God was to give all that, why does it make it so puzzle oriented? Why is it so tough? Explain that part of it and what happened in Joseph's life.
Yeah, there's a beautiful song which says, through it all, right? I'm
Yes.
sure you heard
Yes.
of that song. And in the song it says, if you don't go through trouble, you'll never know that God can actually solve them, right? So sometimes if life is without trouble, you may not even seek God. And that's exactly what's happening in developed nations of the world. Look at the developed nations of the world. Everything is fine for them. They have everything at their fingertips.
Correct.
They don't need God,
Correct.
right? You will only need God when you run out of all options and you're saying, God, where are you?
Correct.
That the developed nations of the world do not understand. They will only understand if there's an event like a 9/11. They will only understand if there's an event like a virus that's really taking lives off. And suddenly they'll sit up and say, oh my God, I need God. Right? So sometimes God brings in those situations in our lives to toughen us up, to prepare us for our next step. Because every time that Joseph went through an ordeal or a situation, he was being taken closer to that vision or the dream that God had for him. But God brought it so that Joseph was drawn even more closer to God. And it didn't go well for Joseph at all. I mean, his brothers hated him. Some brothers wanted to kill him straight away. One brother pleaded and said, let's not have blood on our hands. Let's just sell this guy and make some fast buck. And they finally do that, right? And they find some band of Ishmaelites traveling. They sell the man and they make a quick buck. And they go and tell the father a lie, saying, this is what we found. They actually tear the tunic and soak it in blood.
And broke the father's heart.
Everything, right? Told a big lie to the father. Can you imagine your own brothers doing that to your own father?
Terrible, huh?
What stooping of morality is that, right? You've gone so low. They're telling a lie. You've sold the guy and made a quick buck, and you now tell a lie to the father saying that the guy is actually dead. So the father, who loved his son so much, lost all hope of living.
He even says that I will go down to the grave.
To grave crying, right? Actually lamenting. So you don't do things like that to your own father, to your own brother, but they did it, right? But look at how the story unfolds for us, in front of us. He goes in as a slave to Potiphar's place. And the Bible says, and I love the Bible, when you read the Bible, sometimes it just stands up. You've read this for ages, but suddenly it sort of pops up. It says that when Joseph went even into Potiphar's place, he found favor with Potiphar. The word favor, I think, is critical. If there's one prayer that everybody has to pray in today's world, is not for anything else but for favor. Lord, wherever I go, I need favor. I'm going for this business meeting, I need favor. I'm going here to sing praise worship to you, Lord, I need favor. Wherever you go, Lord, I need favor. Joseph somehow had favor from God in everything that he did. He could have been murdered in that pit. He could have just been killed by one of the brothers. Favor of God saved him. He was sold as a slave to Potiphar, but favor of God raised him up amongst all the slaves. He was an overseer.
So John, as you're talking about Joseph from the pit and Potiphar, and he was now in a place where he is now there in a house and playing a part of a servant and all. There's a verse in the Bible, and I want to specifically ask you this question. The verse says that God blessed Potiphar because of Joseph. Now, now you're talking about favor.
It's a very interesting
so
subject.
I'm just coming to that point.
Yes.
It's not that Joseph was blessed because of Potiphar. It's Potiphar or the master getting blessed because of the servant. Now, it's a reverse situation in a corporate world. We join big companies because we want to get blessed. But God is telling, you go, I will bless the company because of you.
Absolutely.
So explain that part of God's corporate vision. Explain that part.
Ashwin, I don't know whether you've noticed this. I've noticed this n number of times in my life. I go to a restaurant. I go to a shopping mall. I'm the only customer. In that place, I step in. I'm the only customer. Nobody else. It's empty. Within 5 minutes, the shop is full. Have you noticed that happening in your life? It's happened n number of times in my life. I go to a restaurant. I'm sitting there all by myself. Nobody else is there. In 5 minutes time, the restaurant is full. How is that possible? You see, God is blessing that restaurant just because your foot just stepped into that place, right? That's how favor is. And so favor is almost everything. So you got a right point. You actually look for big companies, you join big companies. But if God is put you in a big company, He's going to take that big company into a mega big company because you're there. right? And you're not there by accident. You're there so that you are a blessing to the crowd, to the people you're there, right? And so, our prayer when we actually work in a corporate is, Lord, I'm not here to take glory to self. Well, that'll happen, but you're there so that you can glorify God in everything that you do. Because I'm sure you've heard of Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is a company
Stands on the principles of God.
the principles of God. They don't work on Sundays.
Correct.
They closed on Sundays.
Yeah.
Now, Sunday is a day that fast food joints make the lots of money across the globe.
Correct.
Here is a man who's a Christian who says, I'm closed on Sundays because I need to go to church. My family comes with me to church.
Not only that, employees have to go to
Employees also go, right? And so they enjoy a Sunday. But their turnover is 3 or 5 times more of all the other restaurants put together.
Correct.
And they do extremely well. How is that possible? It's the favor of God.
Correct.
Right? So when you take a decision like that for God, saying, God, you placed me in this company and I want to give you glory, and that's my only purpose of me being there, God's glory will come into that place.
Yeah.
And what that company gets is much better than what they possibly getting without you.
The second angle to this point of God mentioning that in the Bible is also the skill set.
Yes.
You're an area where you identify talent, you said.
That's right.
Now, how important is excellence in work? Because Joseph, whatever he touched, going as a slave, I don't think Potiphar immediately gave him a manager's role.
Yeah.
Being a low-key guy.
Yeah.
From low-key, one step more, one step more. So there's a lot of, God sees that skill set. Are we good in our skill set? Talk about that, John, a little bit. How important is that?
Yeah, absolutely important. In fact, it is the most important, right? Because if you look at the God that we worship, a God that we worship is not an average God. Because right from the very first book of the Bible, when he looked at everything that he created, he said it was good. When he created man, he said it was very good, right? Which means he did things in excellence. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you just step out of into the world and you look at the world around you and look at the trees and everything that he created. Everything was excellent. So we worship an excellent God. And so the created beings of God should also be excellent, right? But have you seen the life of most Christians? We live average lives. Now I'm saying that because I also used to live an average life, thinking average life is fine. Average life is everything. There used to be a time, Ashwin, that the best of doctors, the best of educationalists, the best of everything in the world was a Christian. You can't say that now today. Why? Because Christians have forgotten that the God that we worship is an excellent God, that everything that we need to do should be excellent. And therefore, that excellent spirit is not just something that was available only for Daniel. Daniel, yes, had an excellent spirit. That's something that you and I can pray for and ask, if God bless Daniel, Lord, give me that excellent spirit. If Joseph have an excellent spirit, I want an excellent spirit. And you need to pray to God, and the God who hears prayer will give it to you, right? So we need to be excellent. In the corporate world, everybody looks for excellence. You're not celebrated for mediocrity. You're not celebrated for average. If you're average, you'll stay average and they'll treat you that way. But if you're excellent, you grow. You're noticed. But I want to spin that around a little bit. John was created by God to do 1 or 2 things excellently well.
Correct.
Ashwin is created to do 1 or 2 excellently well.
Correct.
But today's world wants us to do a lot of things excellently well. Multitasking. And that will not work. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's proven by Gallup's research that men and women have certain talents, and if they work in their area of talent, will be successful. I'll give you a simple example. If you come and wake me up in the middle of the night and you tell me, John, can you sing a song? And you give me a guitar, I will do it. Anytime, anywhere in the world, give me a guitar, tell me to sing, I will sing. You give me a platform and say, John, can you speak to an audience of 5,000 people? Don't give me any time. Just tell me the day before. I will do it. Why? Because it comes naturally to me. That's my gifting. That's my talent. Ashwin has certain gifts and talents that comes naturally to you, Ashwin. And if you perform in that area, you will be excellent.
Correct.
And if John performs in the area that God has made me, I will be excellent. The problem is many people don't know what that area of excellence is, and they go after a lot of other things expecting to be excellent, but they're not in the area of strength.
But what is also true is that God has given everybody an area of excellence.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Absolutely. For example, I keep saying this in my corporate training, Usain Bolt, right? Do we know how well he did in maths or physics or chemistry or college? Do we even care? No. But you give him a track and field event and tell him the world record for 100 meters is 9.56. He's going to beat that record. Why? Because his excellence is running.
Yeah.
right?
So
And you
identifying
what area God has gifted you in is very
So
important.
which means Joseph
Yes.
identified that.
He knew it.
Yeah. So John, we are going to close this program. We need to take it to part 2,
Mm-hmm.
talking about identifying Joseph in the digital era. But I want you to just summarize this 3 parts of what we discussed. Of, you said number 1, God speaks.
Absolutely.
Fundamental.
Yes.
That's number 1. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, God speaks, but the question is, are we listening?
Yep.
So God can still speak.
Absolutely.
But the question is, are we in tune?
Yes.
So Joseph got the dream because he could have been like his brothers,
Mm-hmm.
who are very thinking of jealousy, hatred.
Yeah.
He was just Joseph.
Right.
So God speaks. The question is, are we listening? The third part is, the place where your position could be blessed because of the fact that you are there,
Right.
and God sees that you are there.
Absolutely.
So we have to reverse the situation. So I don't go after
Yeah.
seeking a place where I need to be blessed.
That's right.
God is saying, you are the blessing.
Yeah.
So this is the component I'm saying. Am I missing something?
No, you're perfect. I think you've said it beautifully. God speaks. God speaks even today. Are we listening? Right? I heard a beautiful message of one of my favorite pastors, Jensen Franklin. He says, are you listening? Are you a Samuel? Because Samuel heard God when he was just a little boy, right? I wonder how many little boys are hearing God. Because by the time we grow to be an adult, we've become dull of hearing. So we need to hear. Number 2, once you hear and get the vision from God, it's not going to be easy. You will have obstacles, but God is with you.
Correct.
Number 3, wherever you are, God is going to bless you, because as long as you have His favor, you're going to be blessed and you'll be a blessing.
Correct. John, it was a pleasure talking to you. We're going to take this as part 2 in understanding and decoding Joseph. Is he relevant in the digital era? But that's going to be in the next week's program. And join me as we expound more into Joseph's life. Friends, don't miss this program. Next week, same time, Purpose of Life. And we are talking with John K. John, corporate leader. Next week is going to be even more interesting. Decoding Joseph in the digital era.